When the New England Patriots drafted Caedan Wallace in the third round of the 2024 NFL Draft, it seemed like the plan was to test his versatility across the offensive line, with initial reps coming from both left and right tackle positions. It was obvious the coaching staff was intrigued by his athleticism and experience to play in a pro-style system at Penn State, and it appeared like there was some potential for him to develop into a long-term solution at one of the tackle spots. However, Wallace's rookie campaign never got off the ground the way the team really hoped. A significant lower leg injury, which I don't know if that was a shin, ankle, foot, but it derailed his development and sidelined him for a large portion of that season, stalling any momentum he might have built during training camp. Now heading into 2025, the landscape around him has shifted dramatically. The Patriots used their 4th overall pick on LSU left tackle Will Campbell, and they signed veteran right tackle Morgan Moses in free agency, effectively locking down bookends of the offensive line for at least this season, and possibly more. With the tackle spots now accounted for, Wallace's clearest path to playing time lies on the inside. Specifically, really at that left guard position, where there remains to be an open competition. Fortunately for Wallace, this potential move isn't coming out of thin air. While primarily a right tackle at Penn State, he did get live practice reps at guard, and he also got some reps at the Shrine Bowl practices and even logged some in-game experience at the bowl game. What is more, several within the organization and in the broader scouting community believed Wallace had the physical tools and mental makeup to thrive as an interior offensive lineman. If he can stay healthy and adapt to the nuances of playing inside, Caedan Wallace could very well emerge as the Patriots' starting left guard in 2025. His strength, he's a big dude, 6'5", 315, 320, decent pass protection, obviously great football IQ and processing. The guy had experience at Big Ten fronts, ability to pick up stunts, blitzes, post-snap, showing that he had the mental aptitude that would ease a move to the inside. So I think he's got the tools to move in there. He is quick, he's got firm hands. He also has pretty solid balance, so I could see why Elliott called him a 4-position guy post-draft, which obviously underscores the staff's belief that he did have some positional flexibility coming out of Penn State. So there's something there. Now, in terms of development, he'd have to work a little bit more on run blocking power. Great pass pro, run blocking, not his best. Pad level, bend. He's a taller lineman, doesn't have an amazing pad level, so he's going to have that more move in a phone booth ability. Obviously, interior defenders are going to test his ability to anchor low and leverage their center of gravity and short area agility. Now, while athletic, enough for tackle duties, the ability to fire out with some twitch and redirect quickly is going to be tested for him at the guard position. So, these are concerns which would make the transition to guard a bit of a challenge. Now, before you completely dismiss the scenario, I'm going to flesh it out a little bit more, because I'm going to point out this was a topic of consideration even when they selected him in the 3rd round. And again, yes, he primarily played right tackle at Penn State, but again, both the Patriots and other analysts believe he had potential to move around and to possibly be a 4-position guy. Elliott Wolf highlighted Wallace's athleticism, adaptability, him being a 4-position guy, capable of playing both tackle spots and moving inside to play both guard spots. And even Wallace expressed some confidence to switch positions, saying he's super confident in adjusting to different roles on the offensive line. Notably, during the East-West Shrine Bowl, he practiced at the right guard position, and again, he played the position in the game. There is some fresh track record. And listen, I'm not saying that this is actually the answer, but we have a big problem at that left guard position, although I'm hoping that Cole Strange is the guy after finally potentially getting healthy for the first time and starting his season with an offensive line coach, essentially for the first time. So let's see what happens there. Plus, I'm also would consider City So, who was looking pretty good last year until he got injured. And then Layden probably needs some more development, and his pass pro, his pass pro was just general awareness was a concern for me coming out of college. And some of the problems I saw at college looked like it was copy and pasted into last year. Maybe he just needs another year of coaching to get him up to speed, but hopefully he contends for that spot as well. Also, UDFA Jack Conley is a solid contender to be considered for that spot. Jared Wilson, Now, I know he's a center at Georgia last year, but he was essentially the sixth-man offensive lineman the year prior. So I could see him possibly contending for that spot. You also have Schweitzer to consider. So maybe Caedan isn't needed. But at the same time, I think the Patriots have to contemplate and even give him a shot there. Or he is simply developing as a right tackle and working some reps at left tackle to gain some experience to maybe take over for Moses in the coming seasons. But if he's better than what you got at left guard and you're expecting him to be a starter on day one, if that's a possibility, you say, like, this guy could be our starting left guard, are we really going to chance not putting the best left guard in there because he might be a better backup right tackle? Yeah, maybe he is the next right tackle, but Moses might be here for another 2 years or even 3. I understand there are different positions, and I'm always going to favor putting the player at the position that they have the most experience in. But giving a developing player some experience should outweigh being put in reserve in terms of development, especially if he is the best option at that position. Saying a player shouldn't be considered and played at a starting position because it might disrupt their development is kind of absurd for a professional athlete. Experience and proving that they're worth their next contract is paramount for both the player and the team. Saying that a developing offensive lineman shouldn't be tested at another position because it might mess up their development, that's like telling like a track athlete that you're trying to develop them into like a 110 meter hurdler in a few years. You want them to be the best 110 hurdler on this team, the best the program's ever seen. But you're never going to allow them to do the 100-meter sprint in like a championship meet because it might mess up their steps. The athlete is still sprinting. They're still using starting blocks. They're still running relatively the same distance. And they're getting big meet experience against legitimate competition. Plus, the team might get some points if the athlete actually places in the race. Now, the athlete can always have that experience and has worked on the speed and getting out of the block and competing with high-end competition. That is something that you can't take away from them. And on top of it, if they don't ever get the nuances of being a top-level hurdler, at least the athlete can say they were a solid sprinter that contributed to the team's success, rather than just putting all their chips on being a top hurdler and developing them for 2 or 3 years. Maybe they could still do hurdles when the team needs them. But knowing that they can still be a good sprinter never hurts them. It shows that they are still worth keeping around. They're reliable. Now, I know some of you are going to say, it's just not that simple, or it's a different sport, doesn't really translate. Yeah, well, some top athletes that I've worked with made the jump from one professional sport to another. Not just like, move a position or a responsibility in the sport or a discipline. We're talking a completely different sport. And had success because of their mentality and determination, and were still capable of playing their previous sport. Now, I'm not claiming Caedan can do it, or even that he should do it. And the Patriots wanted to even try it. And I'm also not claiming that it's easy for it to be done at the NFL level. I'm not just saying it's that simple. But what I am saying is I think the coaching staff might be considering this. Because I believe the player that Wolf mentioned that they were considering at 38 and that they were going back and forth at in the second round that they weren't able to pick because they were picked ahead of him was Jonah Savanaia. A big right tackle from Arizona, but that had some great tape at guard. I believe they were thinking about him at left guard. If they were going to consider Jonah, again, a right tackle, to be competing for left guard as a rookie, why can't they think about Caedan Wallace, who's a right tackle, to possibly play at left guard? Just pointing that out. Now, of course, it could have been like, Jane Higgins, which obviously would, make my point meaningless. However, let's also consider that Becton made the move from tackle to guard, and that worked out. So it's not absurd to say this. Especially if this is going to be the opportunity for Caedan Wallace to get a starting spot, claim it, and that's going to mean, hey, maybe he wants to be a right tackle and he says forget about it, but hey, dude, you might win the left guard position here. And you're young enough of that it's over and done with. Great. That's it. Like, that's your thing. Like, maybe, if you still develop as a tackle at some point. But if you keep this up, dude, like, yeah, you're getting another contract here. And again, Wolf said he was a 4-position guy. And I'll say, he played some snaps at the Shrine Bowl. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot, he was originally recruited as a guard. He was the number 3 guard in the nation in high school. So, let's see how many people in the comments post, he's only played tackle. Oh, and one other thing. He played some guard at Penn State to fill in for an injury in his senior year. And he even took snaps at center. In fact, Penn State head coach James Franklin was quoted, "We've been getting Caedan some guard work." A lot of times we like guys, if they're a right tackle, to stay at right guard. But he's actually comfortable at left guard. He goes on, "That's unusual. It's a different stance, different footwork." He also went on to say, "I think Caedan is a guy that has the feet and the athleticism to play tackle, but he's also got the size and the power to play guard. He's like 330 pounds or somewhere around there, so he just creates flexibility, and that's good for us, and I think it's going to be good for him long-term as well," unquote. So yeah, there's some track record for it. One of the best guards in high school, played a little bit in college, did some in the pre-draft process. Scouts were saying this guy could be a good guard. Elliot Wolf commenting on him being a potential 4-position guy for them. So maybe not impossible. In fact, actually seems almost logical to see if he can do it. Again, you just drafted Will Campbell, and you got Moses for at least a year or 2, maybe even 3. Are you just going to say, no, dude, unless someone gets injured, we don't want you trying, but you could be great there, but we don't want you trying it. You can get on the field, you can start earning your second contract, but no, we just want to make sure that you might be able to play the right tackle position. Oh, by the way, next year in the draft, solid amount of right tackles. We won't consider that at all. Come on. For everybody involved, it's obviously worth considering. This is a guy who actually coming out was known to being flexible at positions. Interestingly, I remember watching Penn State's left tackle, and I think he played some right tackle as well, Drew Shelton. Now, I was thinking about maybe him coming out in the 2025 draft, but looks like he's going to return, which I also will make note, he should be on their radar for 2026 as a guy who can play possibly left or right tackle and even some center. But anyway, Shelton praised Caedan's ability to adapt and how he stressed the importance of that. So it's not like this guy has been quiet about the importance when he's talking to his teammates. Hey, it's important for you to be able to do everything. Anyway, I think it's something for fans to consider as we move closer to the camps. Regardless of the development path, I think Caedan is one of the key pieces of this offensive line in the coming year, either as a starter in some case, or maybe he's just the first man up at almost all these positions. But I would keep an eye at left guard for him. I think it's an overlooked possibility. And if he's just going to develop behind Moses, that's fine too. Because obviously injuries happen, and that development should come in handy at some point. But I also have to point out, the Patriots have Vidarian Lowe, Demontre Jacobs. They just picked up Marcus Bryant. I'm not saying that the tackle position is overloaded with talent, even if you throw Caedan into that bunch. But I'll say I have less questions about those 2 positions than I do about that left guard position. So anyway, what do you guys think about Caedan Wallace possibly taking that left guard position? Do they just keep him out on tackle? Is he just be developing into that long-term swing tackle for them? Let me know in the comment section below. If you guys like this content, please like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.